everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Tractor Noise podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. On today's show, we'll be looking back at Town's 3-1 defeat this past weekend at Sheffield United. To help me reflect on the defeat, though, I'm delighted to say I'm welcomed by the newest member of the Tractor Noise podcast team, Mr. Adam Cornish. Adam, not the first episode we were hoping to have you on considering the result, but great to have you on the team and looking forward to talking Town for the rest of the season and continuing.
Yeah, really glad to be able to join the Noise. And yeah, I've been an Ipswich season ticket holder with my oldest son now for the last 7 years. But I was a season ticket holder as a child. We've been going to quite a few home and away games for the last few years. So yeah, it's nice to be able to voice opinions.
Absolutely. Just getting with the Town, as you said, you've been a lifelong fan. Just some favourite moments and players over the years. I spoke to you in the week hearing some Town stories, but just letting the Noise faithful know some of your favourite Town moments. Obviously, many in recent years, I imagine.
My favourite player of all time will be Matt Holland. Always has been, just the leader, the captain. And then even after he left, he still had the affiliation with Town. Obviously rejoined Ipswich with the community and the can't think what the word's called now. What's the community? The projects and stuff that goes with that.
Foundation stuff.
Foundation, that's it. He actually done me a 30th birthday message, which my brother messaged him, and he, absolutely no qualms about it, no price against it. He was just a genuine, really nice guy. And yeah, highlight moments. Wembley 2000 against Barnsley. And then you also got the recent moments, the ones that I've been able to take my son to. Huddersfield promotion. Obviously, who do we beat? Exeter
Exeter, League One.
Yeah, 5-0 Exeter, 2-0 Huddersfield. Having my now 13-year-old son, he's got the bug. He's got the life of Ipswich in him, and it's all been very enjoyable.
That's brilliant. Well, he kind of started off well with the promotions, and I think we did as well with 2000. So hopefully, his can continue to go upwards, whereas I did stagnate, unfortunately, until recent years. But yeah, thanks so much for joining the team. Going to be a great insight into Town for the rest of the season. You do go to a lot of games as well. You kind of, as you said when I spoke to you in a week, you're at Sheffield United this past weekend, so you can give a bit more insight into sort of the fan experience for many of us, because obviously many people listening will go to the games on a frequent basis as well. But you said there was a bit of an issue with like turnstiles. You texted our podcast chat saying it might be a kickoff delay, so I was kind of expecting that, but we were all good by 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So what it turned out to be was there were some Town fans who had set off a flare in the concourse area.
Great.
And that had set the fire alarms off. And when the fire alarms went off, the turnstiles went down.
Right.
So we were trying to get in at 20 to 3, and the steward said, "I'm really sorry, we can't let anyone in, the fire alarm's going off." So we were like, well, what's going to happen? He's like, well, they'll probably delay kickoff if we can't get it reset. But yeah, there was flares. And when we got into the concourse, the floor was blue. There was a lot of dust.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe it was an omen to fans wanting to delay the game considering what was to come. But we'll get into the game now. Me and Rob said on Tuesday's show after the Bristol win going into this one, obviously, we did beat them 5-0 in the season. They had a really poor start to the season, Sheffield United, when they came to our place when we got our first win of the season there. But it was obviously you're not going to be playing the same side there. Obviously, they haven't propelled massively up the table, but there has been signs of improvement. Chris Wilder sort of coming back and for the 100th time and steadying the ship as he seems to have done ever so slightly, and he's obviously got that foundation at the club already. They're unbeaten at home, I think, in 6 games heading to this one as well. So, despite the fact, they haven't propelled up the table, it's very much been a little wee bit of a fortress over the past months. It's always going to be a tough game, but considering our form, you would have liked to think we could have got something out of it. Looking into the lineup, obviously, we played on Tuesday night, as I said, so there's a few changes coming in. We saw Jacob Greaves playing at left back. We'll sort of get into that as we go on, don't you worry, Adam. Obviously, excelled in that position last time. He started there with Davis being out when we played against Coventry. Slightly different result this time, I think, but as I said, we'll get into that as the show goes on. Jack Taylor coming in for Jens Kuste, who with the midfield pivot kind of being the one we usually expect in McKenna's strongest 11, shall we say. Egerly returning on the wing as well for Wes Burns, who made his first start of the season the other day. And Nunez, unfortunately, out of an ankle injury, with Sam Schmeichel coming in at the 10, Clark on the left, and George Hurst replacing Azon at top. We'll get into the game shortly, but the severity of... I saw Nunez post on his Instagram the day before the game, and it was in Spanish. I wasn't entirely sure. Obviously, saw the translation. I think it was like a religious proverb or something, so I thought maybe it's just thanking for playing for football, but actually sort of hinted at his injury, I guess. So do you know the length of the injury? I mean, he was certainly missed in this game, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, there was a few people talking at the ground. Obviously, everyone's an expert when you're there. Everyone knows someone inside the club.
Boots on the ground.
That's the one. So there was people who said that the reason we've signed Anis Mehmeti was due to the fact that Nunez's injury is a lot worse than expected. But then there was also people who said that Nunez is actually the one who's fine and Philigine's the one who's been out for ages. So it's sort of like everyone's an expert. Everyone has their insights. Everyone has their sources. On Tuesday, the injury to Nunez, it was a clash of knees, ankles. It was a full-blooded tackle that both players were going for, and he came out worse on it. He then continued for another 12, 14 minutes after that. So there was obviously not too much concern about the injury as it happened. So yeah, it was it's not a shock for him not to be in the squad. Obviously, he's played basically every game for us since securing that 10 position to himself. So they were sort of already a lot of games in him. I suppose it only takes one sort of bang. You just don't want to aggravate it. With Sammy Smodics being fit again, they obviously used him as a 10 previously and felt that we were able to like for like as such, except for the like for like isn't the quality there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk on some of those changes and how they contributed in the match as we go on. But getting into the game, first minutes we kind of had the best chance, really, didn't we? With a one-on-one chance, a bit of a mistake made from, I think it was Ben Mee, and that Egerly was sort of able to go one-on-one and have a shot saved by Cooper, who had a fantastic performance in between the sticks for Sheffield United's game, I must say. Really good from him. We're sort of looking at Egerly, he did kind of struggle in this game a bit, didn't he? You called for Burns to come on later in the game, which he did for Egerly on that right side. And, he's had his critics this season. I think it's justified despite the fact he's a young player. But Bramall Lane's a tough place to play for anyone, especially as a young player and a foreign player. He did struggle in this game a bit, didn't he, Egerly?
I don't think it's the first game that he struggled in either. I don't want to downplay the fee that we've paid for him, or I do feel like he's retaining a position to justify the money that we've spent so far. I don't think his performances, I do feel that we're a man short when he's playing. He definitely makes the pitch smaller because he isn't right-footed. So he plays out on the right, but you always know he's got to cut in because he just hasn't got that right foot. He hasn't got the pace to go past someone. So then when we had Wes Burns come on, he gives us a completely different aspect to it. He's able to, get his head down and go. He can come inside. A left back wouldn't know what's going on with Wes Burns. You have to stand the man up, but he's good enough to go past you. With Egerly, if you show him onto his right foot, he's still going to come in on his left, and he's very easy to defend against. And it feels like he's being not shoehorned into the squad, but I didn't feel that Sammy Smodics was the worst of the front four yesterday. And for him to come off 10 minutes into the second half to bring on Burns, to then move Egerly into the 10, it just felt like you can't be experimenting 2-0 down away at Bramall Lane and thinking this is the time to give Egerly a chance in the 10. That was my criticism of the in-match substitutions yesterday. I thought the squad to start with was different.
Yeah.
I get that Jacob Greaves had a great game against Coventry, and he did as left back, but that was a needs must situation. Leaf was completely unavailable. Yesterday, Greaves, he got caught out of possession a few times. He didn't give us that out ball on the left, which then completely isolated Jack Clark. And we know that Jack Clark's not the strongest player in the world as it is. He's very skillful, he's very good with his feet, but he needs someone to open the pitch up for him where Leaf makes that run round the back. It gives Jack Clark that extra space to be able to make a move or move the ball into the wider areas or come inside. Because Greaves wasn't getting forward, because that's just not his game, it then sort of left Jack on his own. He was very thingy. I thought the midfielders yesterday, I thought Taylor was a very, very poor player. And I think he looked a very poor player for a lot of this December, January period. Yes, he had a few good games prior to that where he came in for Kiyuste and it was like, oh, maybe Taylor is our answer. But since he's sort of nailed on this position as basically our number 8, I just don't feel that he's performed at all. I feel he gives the ball away too easy. He doesn't really chase anything. His ability to pass is poor. Like I don't know what it is with him. I really want Jack Taylor to succeed, but I don't feel like he's a starter. And I really feel that these links with Dan Neil and Imran Loser could really be the end for Jack Taylor, because I feel that if either of them come in, he drops down the pecking order. I still believe he should be below Jens Kiyuste at least. He'll pick up the ball, he'll make a run at it. Again, he doesn't get back, but when you've got someone like Matt Siwa who's able to play that holding role, I feel like there's a better connection between them two than there is with Taylor, who doesn't want to get forward. So he's kind of in Matt Siwa's area, and they then really cancel out each other, because Matt Siwa yesterday, his passing was poor. It does feel like he's playing at 90% with this yellow card situation. He doesn't want that suspension, and it feels like he's being told, don't make those tackles, don't do this, because at the moment we haven't got any cover for you. And I could honestly see someone coming in this week and then Matt Sewell being booked against Preston and get these 2 games out of the way very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Taylor, just touched many things there, but with Taylor as well, we've talked a lot about in the podcast how he's not really a 6 and a defensive player, but he hasn't got the creativity to be a 10. We don't really have anyone playing that middle area. So he's always kind of struggled in a Town shot, I think, to find his place within a team. I think this season, as you said, there's definitely holes in his game, but he's found a bit of consistency. Obviously, he started a lot of games this season. I think surprised many of us, considering Tuesday coming back, as you said as well. But yeah, I agree. It still feels like, despite the fact he obviously puts his best effort, he's a committed Town player, there's certainly holes within his game there that we're exploiting it very much more so in this game. Just get back into the game as well. Greaves won that left side. I think we saw in that first half, especially Sariki on the right for Sheffield United had a great game as well, overlapping Greaves on many occasions as well. I think that was a difference between Greaves' performance here compared to the one we saw, like we said, at Coventry, who was so fantastic. It was because that right side of Sheffield sort of looked to overlap him and sort of exploited that, whereas I guess it wasn't really a game plan. It probably a game plan for Leif Davis Coventry going to that game, whereas Greaves was a bit surprised. But yeah, kind of got found out a wee bit as well. But getting a bit further into the first half as well, before the first goal, and we almost managed to break with deadlock ourselves there, Adam, before Sheffield United scored. It was a sort of inception Matasio, play it to Hurst, and a pass to Clark, which was a bit wayward. It could have been played slightly better because it did drift out wide ever so slightly. Played back, Hurst shot, and I think he sort of started to run to the side. I think he was going to score, but another fantastic save from Cooper in goal there from United, and Schmonix had a sort of a last-ditch attempt to get a goal in, but unfortunately it was saved again. And then quick counter from the corner following that, sort of bundled from Jack Clark, and then Harman got the end of it. lofted over to Callum O'Hare, who it looked at the time, well, maybe from your perspective anyway, and it looked clear that O'Hare got the end of it. But from watching on television, you weren't too sure he got the end of it. Some think it could have been an own goal, but Sheffield United did take the lead. The thing I want to really talk about from this goal is, with us being stronger side in most games this season, counter-attacking is the way we are going to concede. And this goal echoed so much of early goals throughout the season. I think as a goal we conceded against Derby at home, it reminded me a lot of this as well, and a few others as well. Despite the fact we've had a great run recently, and we are only 5 points behind Borough with a game in hand, this way of conceding is still our bogey, isn't it, by the looks of things?
Yeah. And until we get some pace in our whole lineup, because we are a slow team, like Jack Taylor's header back into the box, it was so unlike Ipswich. So whenever we have a corner that's cleared out to our player on the edge of the box, we usually recycle. We take the ball down, we go back to the wing, and we look to get that cross back in. When you still got Tipray, O'Shea, Greaves in that box, why this little sort of dinky header back onto the penalty spot? It just wasn't on. I don't understand the thinking. And yeah, once they got the ball, Taylor's chasing back one. He then stops running, and then all of a sudden we're 4-on-2. And yeah, Callum O'Hare, you can't give a guy of that quality in the Championship the space and time, because he had all the time in the world. And I felt that it was very harsh for the yellow card. I was sat literally right behind the goal on the front row, and Walton hasn't gone to hurt him. Walton's made himself big. He's got his leg up. He's got his arm up, and the ball's gone between it. Like, I'm a striker as a footballer.
We need number 9. We need number 9, Adam. Maybe he can come in this January.
If only. I don't even need to take it. Yeah, so you expect sometimes you're gonna bundle into players, and that's all that was. It was momentum from him and momentum from Walton. But that was the start of the boil over from what then became Sheffield United's exactly what they wanted in the game. They wanted a very physical, very... I don't know how
wasn't it? Well, you saw Chris Wilder immediately sort of go for our goalkeeper coach on the side as well, get a yellow card, and it kind of him doing it kind of showed, if I'm doing this, my team are going to follow suit, aren't they? And they did.
Yeah. And Sidney Peck was getting involved in anything and everything, which was obviously his part of the game. He's kind of their Sam Morsey, no matter what was going on, he had to be front and centre of it. And yeah, it riled us. At half time, we've got Sammy Smodics being dragged away by 2 players. We've got Jack Taylor being dragged away by another player. We've got Jacob Greaves running after, and it was like, we've lost our head. And they've got exactly what they wanted out of this. They've gone in 2-0 up, and we are rattled. And it was, I would love to be on fly on the wall for the halftime talk with it, because I think half of it would have been, we've got to calm down. Like, we are losing here, and we just seem like we were ready to fight more than we wanted to play football at that point.
Yeah. It's really not usually the way we play our game as well, is it? That's sort of, it's usually so like, the players reflect the manager's sort of demeanour, and McKenna, like, in Wilder's antics, was still very sort of composed. I don't know how much you could see from where you were sitting from being on the touchline, but the players didn't reflect that really, and that's sort of, we sort of playing Sheffield United's hands, you're saying. Before we go to the break, we'll just talk about the second goal, as you mentioned there. I felt sorry for Walton this way. He did his best in the shot from Bamford save, shot from Sariki save, and then Brooks kind of bundled it in off a deflection. Brooks was only going to score for deflection because his other 2 shots in the second half went into Rosette or for a throw-in, didn't they? But
they did.
Yeah, really disheartening to concede before the end of the first half there. Also, added time in this half. I don't know what you guys are thinking being at the ground, but there was a lot of stoppages in the first half, and we only got 4 minutes. And in comparison to the second, wasn't that many, but it was 7. Really weird that, but 2-0. Shame.
It was. I thought the same thing when we were sort of waiting for the ball to go up. I said, surely it's got to be 5 or 6 here. Like, they had the Callum O'Hare when he scored. I'm sure the goal went in around 37, 38 minutes. and he didn't get up to 42, 43, and it was like, well, how are you only adding 4 minutes on?
Kipra's neck as well. That was a long time.
Yeah, there was it was just the referee. It didn't feel like he was ready for the physical game that Sheffield United were ready for. It was so stop-start, chucking themselves on the floor. But then we got into that horrible habit. Darnell Furlong done exactly the same half the game. And the guys who were sitting around me, they were like, oh, they're just chucking themselves on the floor. I thought, we know better. Yeah, I hate to say it.
Mm.
We didn't do ourselves any favour by playing into their hands.
No, absolutely. And it kind of was the story of the match, wasn't it? We'll take our first break now. When we come back, we'll continue to look back at Town's 3-1 defeat to Sheffield United this past weekend. Welcome back to part 2 of Tractor Noise podcast. Myself and Mr. Adam Cornish, the newest member of the Tractor Noise team, looking back on Town's 3-1 defeat this past weekend at Sheffield United. Starting the second half there, Adam, we did see you'd like to see Town maybe come a bit more on the front foot, but it did kind of seem a bit more of the same what we saw in the first half of Sheffield United kind of getting under our skin, as you said. Free kick from Harmer, which is a brilliant ball put in, headed wide by Ben Mee. And then a chance around the 54th minute was a good effort from Jack Clark, saved by Cooper again. Really good performance from him in between the sticks. I think the half-time stats was kind of similar amount of attempts. We didn't really take our chances, but he just was phenomenal in goal for them, really. And then early substitutions. You don't really see substitutions this early from McKenna into the game, but I think we were surprised it didn't happen earlier, to be honest. Maybe after half-time and around the 56th, 57th minute mark, we did see some substitutes coming on with Davis coming for Kipre, which meant Greaves obviously going into the centre of defence, of Davis occupying that usual spot on the left. 150th appearance for Davis. We're getting a lot of those moments. I think Burns and Taylor both had recent sort of milestones as well, obviously coming to a club around similar times.
Same and then time,
Schmodix for Burns, with, as you said, Egley then going into 10 and Burns out on his usual spot on the right. And then even as on coming on for George Hurst. Just going through the subs, as you said there, we went through him a bit at the top of the show there, but you can see the difference. I mean, it's obvious, Leif Davis is arguably one of the best players at the club, and he's been there and done it. But the difference in him on the left was night and day. And no disrespect to Greaves, I think he's had a tough season and he's had some good performances recently, but the way Sheffield were playing, you needed Davis there as well. And immediately he was there, lofting the balls over to the side as he does, going forward as he does, allowed Taylor to, Jack Clark. So you're getting your Jacks confused. You're getting with Davis overlapping, you're getting Clark the opportunity to cut in as he does so well, and as he has done so well early in the season. So that was, we saw the quality of Davis come through straight away, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Leif Davis is always going to give you more going forward, and for them to have more problems than he is going to be for our defensive side. And it's not a criticism of him, he's very good at what he does, and what he does is going forward. It was it was just a very strange. I obviously texted you boys at halftime saying that we needed to make changes, and it wasn't, I can't think of what game it was. I think it was Charlton, where we made 3 subs at halftime after being 2-0 down at halftime, and it was like, this was no different to that. It was, we are struggling here, and we needed to get control of that ball in the middle. And then when they came out the same 11, I was like, I'm really shocked that there's no changes here. Like, it seemed like the first half, the subs were out the whole time warming up. It was, McKenna wasn't happy at all, and you could feel that. And then, it was earlier. We got 55-minute subs instead of the 70-minute subs. It was I felt that Taylor should have gone at that point. I thought Kiyuste would have been able to give us more control in the middle, bring us forward at 2-0 down. As I said about the Egley situation, I don't want to slate the kid, but
do you think
right
he can work
now,
in a 10? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think he can work in a 10? I mean, he gets an option with left sort of being a bit more manageable to use, perhaps, and not having to rely on his right foot, as you said, as so much being on the wing there. Do you think 10 could be a bit more, with Nunes potentially out? We do need something to try there, don't we?
I think there's a lot of talk that he plays 10 for the Norway under-21s, and he's got a good goal-scoring record for them. So I can understand why people are calling for it, because if that is a position he's played previously. But when he was at Nordsjælland, he played on the right. So it's not like it's a natural position that he's always played. It's a position he can play. But as I'm 90% sure most footballers will tell you, under 21s football is not men's football and it's not championship football.
No.
Like, he is up against left backs who are aging. Yesterday when he went into the 10, Ben Mee was laughing because Ben Mee knew, as an experienced player, there was one point, I think it was Egley, was running with the ball. He received the ball. He's had a poor touch, and Ben Mee fell to the ground and rolled. But in that roll, he came away with the ball. He was laying on the floor, flat, but he just knew that if he couldn't get past him, and it was just a very easy task for him. The final subs, Anis Mehmeti, he seemed, there was a lot of talk, obviously, he didn't train with the boys. First time he met him was on the coach, going down to the hotel. But they know, they played against him Tuesday, they know what he's for. And there was a couple of times where he sort of picked the ball up on the edge of the box. And I think if he was in a Bristol City shirt with the sort of, how they play and more, he'd have got it out of his feet and had a shot. But I think he's come to a new club. He knows very much how Ipswich play because obviously he would have been aware of this, and he made passes that probably should have been shots, especially at 3-1 down.
What do you reckon of? Obviously, as you said, he very quickly through the door, wasn't he? And kind of chucked straight into it. There wasn't going to start, but brief cameo there. And as you said at the top of the show, with Jaden out for a wee bit of time and Nunes potentially as well, he can play back left in Temra. I think that's obviously why he's been brought in. I've been watching for a long time, as McKenna said, but. Week, obviously, haven't got a game for a week now until Preston, as you said. So a good chance for him to sort of get to know his teammates a bit better and training. I think training's more important than that Sheffield game for him, to be honest, right now. And sort of getting to know the team, and hopefully, do you think he can be a key member of the squad? January's been proven well for us in recent years for transfers, and hopefully this can be the same, right?
Yeah, I do, and I feel that it was a very low risk transfer. Obviously, it sounds crazy because it wasn't that long ago that still our record transfer fee was Matteo Serini. And now we're just chucking around £3 million on what people are saying is a third choice left winger. He's not a third choice left winger. He's very much going to be an integral part of a squad that McKenna requires. Because of the way that we play, McKenna has to make changes. Jack Clark was going into the potential here. We don't know how long Jaden's out. I know they're saying we're going to take it game by game. He's got a week now till Preston. If he's not back for Preston, I can't then see him being fit for the Tuesday. And then we're missing 4 games there. So you need that second option. And someone like Mehmeti who can play in multiple positions. He's had, obviously, dealings with McKenna before where they were at the Tottenham Youth Academy together. And also, this is a guy who's worked his way, he dropped from youth football at Tottenham to Woodford Town. He went back to the roots, where he had to play football and he had to get better really quick to then have the opportunity to then get to where he is now. And a £3 million transfer to Ipswich these days is going to be a lower end of our budget. But I think he'll be a real integral part to it. And I really think that his goals and assists will be vital. Like, he's got 14 goal involvements, which I think is more than anyone in our squad this year.
Yeah, but not surprising.
And he's in an underperforming Bristol City squad. So he's not going to play every minute here, and he probably knows that. But I'm sure he hasn't come in to be a backup. And I'm 90% sure that we'll see a good showing from him to show that I'm actually going to be in that position, not you.
Yeah, it's good to see that depth continue, isn't it? And we do need it from him. Just as you said, the subs instant impact, really, wasn't it? Leading up to the penalty that we got around the 50th minute mark for a great run from Burns, overlapping, sort of going around the defender there, and then laid it back for Jack Taylor to have a shot and as a handball from McGuinness for Sheffield United. Before we get to the pen there as well, let's talk about that right side, because I don't know where I'm at with it, to be honest. I don't know what I want from it. We've talked a lot about Egley already on today's show, so looking more about, Burns, like, he's been out for a year and he already looks like one of the strongest players in the team, doesn't he? And he knows that right side. McAteer's that right for him I think it's gone now, unfortunately, isn't it? He was that sub for Egley. Burns is already that sub now straight away. So where are you at with it? You don't want to chuck Burns into the line's end so soon, because he's coming off such a crazy injury and we don't want to risk things for him. I doubt he's going to get a full 90 for the rest of the season, perhaps, but it's difficult, isn't it? I don't know where I stand on it right now with who should start there.
Yeah,
I think Burns should. Injuries.
I agree. I think Burns probably should be the starter right now. I wouldn't say McAteer shouldn't be the sub right now. I don't think it would hurt Egley to sit out a few, watch from the sidelines, sort of have a bit of a think, like, this is a 19-year-old kid who played 40-odd games for Nordsjælland in 2 seasons. So he played a large majority of their games in the league stage, and he also obviously played Europa Conference League football last year.
Yeah.
He's probably been in a very comfortable position where he was the star boy there and they were massively rating him and this, that and the other. We're in a situation where we have better players than you, buddy, and you're going to have to pick up your performances quite quickly to be able to get that position back, especially, Wes Burns is 30 now, 31. He's not going to be there forever. But right now, he is head and shoulders over Egley. And annoyingly, from what I've seen when McAteer comes on, I feel that he offers more than Egley. The only thing that he hasn't had is that he's made 3-4 really good crosses this season from very, very little minutes, and we haven't got a finisher. George Hurst scuffed one, he put one over the bar. The other one, he was frustrating as anything yesterday. Like, he really does have a terrible first touch. Like, I don't like to ridicule players.
No, we've said his hold-up play this season has been a bit poor, his first touch, yeah.
I just don't quite understand what he's trying to do this season, because it feels like, obviously last year he had Liam Delap with him, and it feels like all he took from Liam Delap is, right, just shove into defenders. He didn't learn how to first touch, he didn't learn how to turn and run. I just don't quite understand what George Hurst is trying to be. He said in pre-season, I am Ipswich number 9. I want that shirt. I want you to show that I can do it. And they put all their trust into him. And they gave him the 9 shirt and said, you are our man. We won't go and sign anyone else. We're gonna go with you. And then, he scored that penalty at Birmingham and made the comments. And it just feels like, I can't even remember his last goal.
No, me neither.
I know he had to spell out injury.
Yeah, I mean, with him as well, it's just like, as you said, I think we all wanted him to do well as a starter this season. And as you said, there's always been someone else there who could potentially occupy that spot as a starter. But this season, it seemed conclusive that it was his role, and Aslan was coming in as a sub. As it has probably been throughout the season, but recent performances kind of swayed people's opinion. I think it's going to continue to do so. And we've only got a week or so left until the window shuts now. And I think, as you said, Neil and Orluz are coming in for that 6th role. Looks to be happening in one of them, but I think we need to look at a striker as well, whether it's an experienced head or a starter, just something to give a few options there, because it is definitely a cause for concern. But as you said, we did get 1 goal back, a Jack Clark penalty, as close as you can get to not scoring a pen, as well as scoring a pen, wasn't it, off the post and going in there, because as I said, you have to do a lot to get past Cooper in goal. But Jack Clark did get another goal. I was wondering who's going to take it, but then obviously I forgot, because I thought Clark went off, but he was always going to be the first man to take it. So it's good for him to get a goal there. But really, 6 minutes, and you thought, we kind of were coming into the game a bit more. As I said, the subs had a really, really good impact and will continue to do so. But unfortunately, 6 minutes later, game was kind of sealed really with a poor clearance from O'Shea and lofted over. There were some shouts from the broadcast at being offside, but I haven't seen the angle to suggest so.
We don't see those angles in the Championship, do you?
No, especially on the 3 p.m. Broadcast as well. And then Bamford, before a few minutes, like 15 or so minutes later, getting sent off for diving, did score the winner for the goal that sealed it for Sheffield United. They didn't even kind of seal Town's fate.
Yeah, I said you don't see many yellow cards for diving when you're already on a yellow card. But this yellow card he got originally was dissent. You know, he kicked the billboards and got a decision that went against him the other way, and he wasn't happy about it. And it was like, you're a professional, a long-term professional. You know, he must know. And I don't quite understand why he went down. He was round Walton. Like it was a tap-in for 4-1. The game's dead. He's still on the pitch. I don't know whether he genuinely thought he was going to get it because of the position that he was or what. I was obviously right down the other end. But straight away, it looked a dive. But it was, brave from the referee because you usually at that point, you know, he'd give the goal kick.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And just say, right, get up, get over it. But he booked him and gave a free kick the other way. And Chris Wilder did not look happy. Like, he didn't shake his hand. He didn't nothing. He just walked straight past him. And it was, you know, Chris Wilder's an old-fashioned manager. He doesn't want diving. He doesn't want you chucking yourself. It was. I don't think my friend lives in Sheffield, who I was with. He's an Ipswich fan, but his friend is a Sheffield United fan. And I messaged him after the game and said, and he was like, "It's ridiculous. Like, what was he thinking?" And the only thing it was maybe the fact he thought it would get under the players and the fans more, the skins, because he's got something that he shouldn't have got. And it was, it was a very, very strange decision. But it was a very good finish from Bamford. You know?
When he got on the end of it there from after O'Shea's error, he thought, it's guaranteed goal, because he's tried his hand in the Premier League a few times. Bamford also with Leeds stuff, but I think Championship has always been his sort of ceiling for the most part, or where he's thrived at least for the most part. And when he's in front of goal like that, despite how great Walton's been this season, he kind of knew it was going to be curtains there, wasn't it? And it was really 3-1. We had a few chances in that stages, but with being 2 goals down rather than 1, you kind of saw it was difficult to come back into it there. Really, I mean, before we finish up, Adam, as you said, like Town now, obviously with Borough's 4-0 win against Preston, who we now face this coming week, and hopefully we can get a similar result. We've obviously struggled against them away from home this season. Hopefully home can be a different story. We now sit 5 points behind with a game in hand. Obviously that game in hand is against Portsmouth, who we should have played earlier this month, but due to that frozen pitch. Were you meant to go to that game, by the way? It's before you joined track. Did you make it to Portsmouth?
I was 28 miles away from Portsmouth.
Oh, mate, gutted.
And turned around.
Did you just go straight home? You didn't bother to...
Yeah, no, my son does like a match. So we did talk about potentially going to Reading versus Stockport. Right. But I was with my brother and my dad, and they both were like, no, let's go home.
Yeah, January, innit? Let's just get back home to the warmth.
It was cold.
Yeah. So I mean, really, I think just moving forward, we'll obviously we'll be back next week for press and review. But takeaway from this and sort of looking forward, we've only had 4 away wins this season, and home. I think we're top 2 or so in home form, but we're in the bottom half of the table in away form. 4 wins away this season. It was QPR, Swansea, and Hull, which all kind of came within the same time of each other, and then Cov in the last stages of last year. And that's really not good enough, is it, for away form? And, you know, coming up, we've got, Preston at home, but then after that, Pompey away, Derby away, Wrexham in the Cup, Wrexham away again, Watford away. So it's teams we've played at home this season, obviously, and then now got to go to their place. And we're getting near crunch time of the season, and I think this month is going to potentially sort of, whether we get top 2 players, this may define it. What's your thoughts on this away run now? Because we've got to strengthen and be more sharp as we've got this sort of road trip in February. Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, I don't think we've played Portsmouth. Or did we play Portsmouth at home already?
Yeah, we beat them 1-0. I think it was on September.
Yeah,
3rd June.
So we beat them 1-0, but then we've got Derby, who we drew 2-2 with. We drew 0-0 with Wrexham. we drew 0-0 with Watford. So we've got 5 away games where we're struggling away as it is against 3 teams who we've already struggled against. So
good point.
It's it really is crunch time. But hopefully, a bit like the previous window, McKenna said, obviously the season doesn't start until the 1st of September. Hopefully, this is just a patch that we can put down once the window's shut. We've got our squad in. The biggest problem we've probably got is that the window shuts on the Monday and we then play Portsmouth on the Tuesday. So any players that we potentially are going to bring in over the next, I would hope that they would come in this week. I'd hope we're not messing around on transfer deadline day on the Monday, because you're not going to get those players in and ready for Tuesday. So then you're talking about the Derby game, which is an early kickoff on the Saturday. After a Portsmouth away on the Tuesday, you're going to come back. You're not probably going to train on Wednesday. You're going to have a recovery day. Thursday, they'll have a training session with new players. And then they'll be travelling on the Friday for an early kickoff. So you get the team together and sort of like the meeting room and stuff, but they'd have one day on the training ground together potentially, which McKenna's way of playing, and unless he's bringing in players who he knows is already can do the system, can do the situation, then they're not going to be ready for the Derby game. Then we've got the FA Cup game. We've got to decide whether we're going to go first team, we're going to go full strength. This is a good opportunity against a team like Wrexham, but Wrexham are going to be full strength because they're going to be more than happy. They're going to get more money from an FA Cup run with the possibility of being at every game on telly than we are. So Absolutely. They're in a much more lucrative situation with that attempt to go through that. I just hope that we don't travel to Wrexham on a Friday night in the FA Cup and send out, the players who we couldn't move on, Baggett potentially, starting at centre-back because we want to give Dara O'Shea a rest, or, Jacob Greaves because we're giving Kit Prey a rest, and then playing Ben Johnson and I'm trying to think who else is even, we haven't got Clark anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to see a second string with like a few new players sprinkled in there to show Town fans this is what we've signed, but they're not playing with the players that they play with for the rest of the season. So there's kind of the balance of that, but that is, as you say, it's in the middle of 5 away games in, Tuesday, I think it's 14 days.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
So it's going to be a really hard run. And we need to manage that massive squad that we've got. Apparently, everyone tells us, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
But we need to utilise at that point. And we're still going to be bringing players back from injury, the likes of Nunez and Philogene, who are mainstays and starters in your squad. But then Philogene doesn't play away games anyway, so maybe a month off hasn't really affected him.
Well, yeah, we were jokingly saying the other day how, Philogene hasn't really had much of an impact on the road this season. So for all the time for him to get injured, just maybe the time to an extent. But obviously it does. I think this defeat, unfortunately, it brings to an end a really good run. Hopefully it's just a minor speed bump. We can get back to things at home next Saturday against Preston. It's going to be it was a big game anyway, but I think given the result just here, it's an even big one. But that's going to do it for today's show. Adam, thanks for joining on your debut. As I said, wish you came on for a win, unfortunately. Yeah. But I'm sure many more will come throughout the season.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, that's going to do it for today's show. Whilst you're here, if you want to head over to our socials, give us a follow on all the usual social media platforms, and wherever you get your podcast from, give us a like and review and all that stuff on YouTube. Drop us a like and put your thoughts down on the performance at Bramall Lane in the comments and tell us what you thought of the game. But that's going to do it for me and Adam. We'll see you next week as we look back on Town's game against Preston North End.